I want to highlight two guys specifically because I think that we've certainly learned a lot about them and also where Florida's offensive line stands because of the injuries to Micah Mazzccua and some of the other guys at the guard spot. Now, coming in, we thought, okay, just based on the recruiting and where they were rated, that Najee Harris would be coming in to play center and Roderick Kearney would be coming in to play guard. It's been the opposite. You've got Roderick Kearney repping at center and repping with the second team center as the second team center. And then you've got Najee Harris, not just at guard. My man's running with the starters, Nick. And they're giving him some opportunities, number 77 out there because of the injuries. And he's obviously making the most of it. He's certainly learning because he should be in high school right now. But the fact that they are putting that guy in that spot already, I think is an encouraging sign to see early on.
Yeah, it's a tough position. That's a really tough position to have to come in and play anywhere on the offensive line. It's helpful if you have some veterans if you're an interior guy and you have some veterans on either side, which you certainly do. If you're playing, guard, you certainly have Kingsley, who's played a ton of football for Florida. And then I think Keon Goodwin is a guy that will end up winning that job at right tackle. But it'll be interesting to see when you get Cam Waits back. He's a guy that they moved to guard last year during the season. Does he stay at guard? Does he go back to tackle? I think if you're looking at Keon Goodwin and Austin Barber, your tackles might be pretty set. And if Micah Mazzccua comes back healthy and ready to go, I think that's your left guard. And now we're looking at.
I mean, they were Nick. Billy said they're hopeful that he comes back by fall training camp. I mean, we'll see. Don't want to get into the specifics of his injury, but it's going to be something that he's going to have to rehab from. So, look, Christian Williams is another guy that's been getting some opportunities there at the guard spot. Riley Simmons is also kind of a veteran there. So, Jalen Farmer too. I don't forget about Jalen Farmer. He was listed as Osiris Torrance's backup for 4 weeks last season. And, he has been banged up. He's been non-contact all spring. But we did hear from Rob Sale that he is expected to return by the end of camp. So getting him in there for hopefully some practices and certainly for the spring game would be big. But then I think, Nick, you look at obviously where the Gators are on the offensive line. There is enough depth there. I didn't really, ever consider that spot being one that they would need to address during the second portal period. But after all these injuries that they've gone through, I'm not so sure. I think if there's one that pops up that makes sense, and if you don't feel like you're going to get Mazzccua back in time or Cam Waits back in time, and you just want to have another guy there that you can feel comfortable, I wouldn't rule it out at all.
Yeah, and I think what we're seeing now is they're making Kingsley earn that position, and you've got those young bucks who they're coming in ready to play. So I think it's good competition for a guy like Kingsley who's been here for 3 years, going on 4 years, to have to earn it. Like, hey, you've been here a while, but this kid just came from high school and he would also like to start, and he's going to push you. So I think that's good. Florida's got talent there, but it's just Jake Slaughter's been at Florida for going on 3 years, and we haven't really seen much of it.
He's played in 14 career games, and they've mostly been at center, but now he's playing guard.
Yeah, and Riley Simmons is another guy. There's just a bunch of guys who. Do you feel great about if they get put into the game? And I can't say yes or no. We just don't know because we haven't seen enough of them. But I think when you look at the injuries and the way things can happen on the offensive line, if you have an opportunity to bring somebody else in, come on down, buddy. Listen, the spots are open, and because right now it's kind of whoever's healthy is playing.
Yeah, and fortunately for the Gators, even though they got Zanders and Zip out, they got enough healthy guys at tight end that they can still put two on the field at times, and it looks like Boardingham is making the most of this opportunity. You saw Hayden Hansen in practice this week, Nick, and we're just like, yo, this dude's going to just be able to just maul people given his size. Obviously still a young guy, but certainly a lot to like about him. And then we mentioned Tony Livingston that just looked like $1 million, fresh off that basketball court. So the Gators got some dudes there, Nick. I think that it would be great for them to be able to get more out of that tight end position this season in terms of production and the passing game. And I think that Boardingham is going to provide that. Obviously, Zipperer had his moments last year before he got hurt. So I think he's another one that could potentially do it. But I'm excited to see Boardingham and him be the guy that I think, we've heard some of the players on the team say he's a guy that knows how to get open.
Yeah, and the tight end position was not a huge offensive threat last year. Played a big role in the team, mainly as blocking. A lot.
Yeah, they wouldn't have rushed for all those yards without those tight ends.
That's true. So shout out to them. There's more than just catching passes and scoring touchdowns. It will be interesting to see. Keon Zipperer, I think we all had in mind that he was kind of like an H-back when he was coming in, and he's someone who's really taken to blocking. Xander's, we saw him, with a shoulder injury. So how serious is that? Does he come back? I think he's kind of just held down, just a steady player that's held down a starting role. And you need to see one of these younger guys, one of these redshirt freshmen step up, whether it's Hayden or Arliss. You need a dual threat, a guy that you can trust. You're not going to get on the field if you can't block. So these guys that are better offensive weapons, you got to learn how to block, or else you're not going to get the opportunity to show, that you are that X factor, that dual threat as a tight end.